Jerome Miles will not be a Buckeye. Let's talk about it. At least probably not on September 18th. We'll talk about it here in a minute. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. I am JR here to talk to you about all the things going on with Ohio State football. You can check more out from me with the post-game shows every Saturday after Ohio State plays. Me and Mike get on right away, talk about the game, and then you can also check out the weekly live stream with Mark Rogers, Tony Gerdeman, Steve Hellwagon as they recap everything that's going on in the football or the Ohio State football community and what's happening over there. So you can check them out on Wednesdays, typically Wednesdays at 11 a.m., but that schedule can be flexible at times. So do turn on the bell for notifications, like and subscribe. We appreciate it. All right, Jerome Miles, we got hit with a little bit of, some information today. I say a little bit, a lot of information. Hayes Fawcett tweeted this out and shows the top three for Jerome Miles being USC, Utah, and Texas A&M. This is obviously not good information if you are somebody who is hoping that Jerome Miles would come to Ohio State. There was a lot of speculation. Would he come to Ohio State, even though Ohio State has a 4 wide receiver class now with Phillip Bell? Do they still stand some kind of chance? This is somebody that Ohio State really wanted or still wants. I mean, honestly, like they obviously, if Jerome Miles came to them and said, "Yeah, I'd like to be a Buckeye," sure, yeah, let's make that happen. But I think it gets a little dicey behind the scenes. So Jerome Miles has his commitment set. It's scheduled for September 18th. That's here in what is that, a week? Yeah, it's the 11th now today. You're probably watching this on the 12th, which is when this will be released. So here in about 6 days, you will see Jerome Miles make his commitment to one of these three schools. I personally feel like he's kind of leaning Utah or USC. However, you never know with Texas A&M. They've been known to make some comebacks here or there. Jerome Miles, I mean, he is a great prospect that Ohio State would love to have. His composite ranking is 45th nationally, the number 7 wide receiver in the class, and the best player in the state of Utah. He is 6'2", 205s. Now, I think one thing we have to remember, especially in Ohio State football recruiting right now, this is true in some other schools, but some schools not so much. Ohio State is now allocating their NIL to certain areas of need and desire, and players that are leaving, they are always trying to project who could stay, who could go. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of players leaving after this year, but Ohio State still wants to try and figure out what position groups, what positions need the most attention, whether it be numbers wise, talent wise, whatever it might be, what needs the most attention. Wide receiver is not high on that list of somebody that needs a lot of attention right now. You have Carnell Tate coming back, Jeremiah Smith coming back. You have a number of guys behind them, Bryson Rogers, Kojo Antwi, Brandon Ennis. I mean, a number of guys back there that you are confident they will contribute in the years to come, and they will not be leaving after this year for the NFL, and hopefully as well not for the transfer portal or anything like that, especially if Ohio State does a good job with their rotations, which has been much improved this year. Even at the wide receiver position, we saw Kojo Antwi catch a ball last game. We saw Brandon Ennis has a very specific role in special teams. He's also getting snaps at wide receiver. Bryson Rogers is also getting in there. He had a very good block when Emeka Egbuka caught that ball. That was one of those plays many people are talking about, the triple option. If you watched Urban Meyer's thing, that was what he was talking about there as well. But we have wide receivers that Brian Hartline and Ryan Day believe can contribute in the future, and this is not somewhere where we need to bring somebody else in because these guys aren't contributing. The fact that a true freshman in Jeremiah Smith is starting does not speak that the depth is bad. It speaks to how good Jeremiah Smith is and how just crazy of a talent he is. I mean, he is arguably going to have a better season than Emeka Egbuka at this point with the yards and the touchdowns, all that stuff. And Emeka Egbuka could very well be a first-round pick after this year. He certainly played himself into first-round pick potential after his sophomore year. Junior year had some issues and injuries and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, wide receiver position is not high on the NIL allocation. And so for somebody like Brian Hartline, you are relying much more on, I can get you to the league and I can get you to be a first round pick where you will get paid then, which is attractive for some kids, right? I mean, there's 4 guys who are committed right now, and their NIL is not Jeremiah Smith level NIL. They're not getting allocated that way simply because Ohio State doesn't need the wide receiver position like they need other positions right now. Now, just because Ohio State is not willing to pay Jerome Miles what some other teams are willing to pay him does not mean they don't think he is an excellent talent. This is not a situation where Ohio State, cooled on Jerome Miles. Ohio State very much so wants Jerome Miles, and they very much so were pitching him the development and getting to the league, the first round picks, all that stuff. It just so happens that at a certain point, you have a number of wide receivers coming in and you have a number in NIL that you are not willing to go past because you're trying to allocate money to other areas. And some people would say that's greedy. I don't think that's greedy. I just think that's the game these days. I think Jerome Miles is a fantastic talent, and he recognizes that he can make some good money in the NIL space right now. And with his talent, he's most likely going to be an NFL player no matter where he goes, barring some kind of injury, heaven forbid, some kind of injury or something like that happen. He is going to be an NFL talent just about wherever he goes, and he wants to make some coin while he's there. Go get it, young man. That's awesome. I think it's great for these players that they can go and do that stuff. The other part of this is that Ohio State seems to be perfectly fine with the wide receivers they have. And Quincy Porter is not quite as well, he's not listed quite as big as Jerome Miles is. Who knows? He could fill out a little bit more. He might weigh more right now. We just don't see it, just the way that sometimes these high school kids and how their bodies are growing and stuff works. However, they really, really like Phillip Bell. Phillip Bell is a good talent, very good talent, and he's somebody who was a 5-star at one point. So Phillip Bell, I mean, was at one point a 5-star wide receiver. After his freshman year, he had 56 catches, 1,002 yards, and 12 touchdowns. I mean, he was a freak his freshman year, was fantastic. Then he played 2022, in which he transferred. He played a sophomore season at Sacramento Christian Brothers. He got 73 passes for 818 yards, 20 TDs, while also carrying the ball 12 times for 102 yards. And then he also played defense where he had 11 tackles, 3 pass breakups, and an interception, which fantastic. That's great for him, and that's really, really cool to see. However, after he transferred to Mission Viejo, where he unfortunately did not have as much success, and I think this is probably why he began to lose his 5th star. Obviously, 24/7 doesn't tell us like here are the reasons why he lost his 5th star. They don't go into all those details. There might have been a podcast or something later on, but I didn't do that much digging. I apologize. But just my guess here is after he went to Mission Viejo, he caught 56 passes for 644 yards and 7 touchdowns. So going from 12 touchdowns your freshman year to 20 touchdowns your sophomore year to 7 touchdowns and better competition your junior year, you can expect some kind of drop off there. However, he has started the 2024 season well. In 3 games, he has 9 receptions, 103 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So you might want some more yards there possibly, but they're definitely utilizing him as a red zone target threat. He did have a catch for nearly 40 yards this second game, I believe it was. And so, I mean, he has the capabilities to be more than a red zone threat. This is just how Mission Viejo seems to be using him to gather up those touchdowns, which it's fine that they're doing that because guess what? That is the type of receiver that Phillip Bell is. He's a big body wide receiver who's going to be able to go up and get the ball, similar to Jerome Miles, who is another big body wide receiver. So this just adds to the idea that you didn't really need Jerome Miles when you already had Quincy Porter and you already have Phillip Bell in this recruiting class as well. It's kind of interesting that Brian Hartline has changed his recruiting tactics to go after some of these bigger guys, but this is just the way it is. And so does this mean that Ohio State didn't want Jerome Miles? No, by no means does it mean that. They didn't cool on him. However, you don't go as hard after a guy if you have 2 guys who have similar play style and that you believe are around the same level of play as this other guy. So it's unfortunate for Ohio State that they can't get another wide receiver, top 50 player. But, That's the game of recruiting. So, am I worried about this at all? No, not really. This is Brian Hartline has his guys, and he's going to do his best to bring those guys in and try to coach them up and teach them and keep them in the recruiting class, which I think he will. There's no rumors of any of these guys, Phillip Bell, Quincy Porter, Bodpin Miller, Desi Jones. There's no rumors or anything of these guys leaving, so there shouldn't be any issues. And none of these guys, to my knowledge, have visited elsewhere or have plans to visit elsewhere right now. So, not concerned about that at all. Um, there is a possibility that Jerome Miles may still visit Ohio State. If that happens, it might pick up a little bit more, but after a commitment and after Ohio State got Phillip Bell, I can't imagine Brian Hartline is going to push that hard for Jerome Miles to come in. Now, like I said, if Jerome Miles, if it's his idea and he wants to come in, I think they'll take him. I think they'll bring him in and have him come on the visit. But do I think Brian Hartline is going to push that hard when he already has 4 guys in the class? Granted, one of them being, a bit of a developmental project, considering he doesn't even play wide receiver in high school, and Bodpin Miller. But I think that they'll be fine. I think Ohio State will be totally fine just going keeping these 4 guys. And if Jerome Miles wants to come for a visit, sure. If not, no harm, no foul. Wish the best for the kid. He's gonna have a fantastic career wherever he goes. He's a very talented individual. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys wish that there was more NIL allocated to Jerome Miles? Do you wish Brian Hartline would go after him a little bit more? Are you concerned with only 4 players in this wide receiver class? I'd love to know your thoughts as well. Put them in the comment section. I'll do my best to get in there, try to respond to you guys, and try to go back and forth having those conversations. You can also check me out over at the Big Ten Huddle every Sunday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night, talking football 3 of those nights. So you guys will have plenty of Big Ten content over there. And then at the OHIO podcast, you can catch me every Sunday night at 8 o'clock over there, right before the Big Ten Huddle show. So thanks everybody for watching. I do appreciate it. Have a good one.